I'm Todd.
And I'm his daughter Victoria.
And welcome back to our channel.
Today we were going to take you to yet another one of these amazing beaches on this island, but unfortunately it was just too hot this morning when we woke up.
You would actually burn your feet on the sand.
Yeah, it's in the hundreds. So instead of doing that, we decided to stay home and instead we'll cook. So I'm going to make some stuffed mushrooms, which will have some sausage and mascarpone cheese and marsala wine from the other side of the island, but really, really good.
Yeah.
And as well as we're going to make a Sicilian caponata. We're going to do our version and it's really yummy.
It's delicious.
Hopefully you'll enjoy, but again, we'll enjoy it more than you will, but you'll have to try making it.
Also, we're going to have some ricotta fresca, and we're going to have some roasted red peppers, my aunt Stella's recipe as well. And we're also going to enjoy a delicious spumante from Gambino's winery.
Yes, and of course we have to top it off with some semolina bread.
Of course.
Yes,
of course.
Nice hot fresh bread that I got this morning.
Yum.
So let me get started in making some food.
All right, let's start cooking.
Ready? Here we go.
Let's go.
So today one of the things I'm going to be making is a typical caponata, which is typical for a Sicilian antipasto. So we're going to have some eggplant, so I decided why not pick from the garden. And Mom planted these a little while ago, so I figured that we could have some nice fresh eggplant with that. So we'll pick some nice fresh eggplants and we'll get some tomatoes and celery from the garden here.
Beautiful.
All right, so now we're gonna pick some of these gorgeous tomatoes. As you can see, there's quite a bit of variety here of different types of tomatoes, but we're gonna do the cherry tomatoes today, which are beautiful, nice and ripe here. I wish you could smell these because they even smell ripe. So good. Look at those, aren't they beautiful? So we have some eggplant and some tomatoes. We'll go over there and pick a few more tomatoes as we continue on with collecting ingredients for the caponata. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a size difference with these little adorable cherry tomatoes. Look at that, aren't they cute? So tiny. I don't know if you can see the difference here, but these are like the size of a pearl. So
these are the ones we like to sun dry because they're so sweet.
Oh, that's right. But
we usually get a couple pints a day.
Which is amazing. I don't know if you can capture how high these are, but I'm not terribly short. So these are pretty tall. They're over 6 feet, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So you get how many pints a day?
Usually about 2 pints a day of the cherry tomatoes.
That's crazy. Oh, this is a Roma.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want some Roma as well or just cherry?
No, we can mix them in.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some beautiful Romas over here I'll grab. You can see me through the tomatoes. All right, so we'll continue picking tomatoes and then we'll collect some celery in a second. So as you can see, Mom's vegetable garden is quite large and extensive. She has many different kinds of tomatoes here, and we have broccoli and radishes and beets growing, lots of different vegetables just depending on the season. And we have this typical Thai water spinach. It's delicious. As well as our cute little baby avocado trees, if you can see them right there. So cute. So now we have our celery that I'll go ahead and pick for the caponata. Later we'll finish setting this up, but right here is where we'll be having our aperitivos later. Underneath the pepper tree, we have some lights and it's really tranquil with a nice breeze out here at night. Okay, so we have all the ingredients all ready for the caponata. You can see these gorgeous tomatoes, and now we have it all laid out for you so you can see everything that we'll be using in the caponata today. All right, so now we're going to start with the caponata. We have the garlic and the onions sauteing in the pan with just a little bit of olive oil. And we'll slowly start introducing the ingredients one at a time, depending on how long they take to cook. So now we have the onions, the garlic, and the carrots sauteing in the pan nicely. So now the rest of the ingredients take about the same amount of time to cook. So we're going to put all the rest of the ingredients in, which include the tomato, the celery, the peppers, and the eggplant. Normally, I guess if you like the celery to be softer, you would add those first and then the other ingredients later. But I like the texture of having that with a little bit of a bite. So we're gonna add all of that at the same time, and we'll do that right now.
Oh, Victoria, this smells really good.
Good, I'm glad.
It's so funny to see. This is what it looks like, and then when you're going to see it completely finished, it looks completely different.
I know. And as you can see, I used a little bit of the celery greens. You obviously don't have to do that, but I like them in this.
I do too. I think the celery greens add a lot of flavor.
They do. And I find the celery here is different than the celery in the States. It has more flavor to me here.
It's stronger.
Yes, which sounds funny to say that it has a stronger celery flavor, but it does. Okay.
Now, how long do you cook this for?
Till it's done. No, probably about 15 minutes or so.
Okay.
At this altitude and with this oven, it takes a little while.
That's true. Good point, Mom. Yes, with our altitude, it even takes like an hour for pasta water to boil. So for people in the States or not on Mount Etna, it won't take as long. So for this to really cook down, we'll show you the different stages of it, but it might even take a good 40 minutes. We'll have to see, depending on the altitude today and how the weather is, but it does take a little bit of time because as you can see now, we have all the fresh veggies in there, and we really want this to reduce down and get beautiful and caramelized.
It's almost like a line out of RV with Robin Williams when he had to cook dinner.
On a blow dryer on high.
Blow dryer on high.
Yeah, well actually if you want to bring down the blow dryer, that might help. Or we could just cook this in the driveway because today it's about 100, what is it, 106 outside?
Something like that.
Fahrenheit.
And it has a wind, so you know, it feels like a blow dryer.
No, it's a convection oven.
True.
All right,
True.
so we're gonna let this saute for a little while and we'll come back and show you the progress.
Awesome.
So here we have the pine nuts, olives, raisins, capers, fresh thyme, and mint. I wish we had smell-o-vision. This smells so good. So it's starting to caramelize and reduce a little bit. Now I'm gonna add the capers and the olives and the raisins to this, as well as the pine nuts. I know that sounds like an odd mixture to have capers and raisins and olives and pine nuts with all of this, but it gives a nice blend of salty and sweet and tangy because we're also going to be adding some vinegar and a little bit of cinnamon and cocoa powder. And again, all of those sound very strange, but they meld together to make a beautiful creation that goes really well with crostini. So now that we have those stirred in, we're gonna let this just meld a little bit. I'll put the cover back on and let this chill. Okay, so now that it's reduced down a little bit more and getting even more caramelized, we just decided to add the herbs. So we added the thyme as well as the mint. So now we'll start adding some spices and a little bit of the olive oil as well.
How many minutes has it been, Victoria?
About 20, I think, so far.
Okay, not too bad.
No, not done yet though, that's
No.
for certain. Okay, so we talked about how we have the nice mixture of flavors, the salty, the sweet, the acid, but now we're gonna add some of the hot pepper to give it a little fiery as well, just to finish off all of the senses. Now we're also gonna be adding some balsamic vinegar, a little bit of tomato paste, some cinnamon, and some cocoa powder. Again, I know that sounds odd, but it's really nice. You can also add tomato sauce if you want, but we already have a nice amount of chopped tomatoes in there, so I just decided to add a little paste because then it's also not as runny. So we have the tomato paste, the hot pepper, we're gonna add a little bit of cinnamon, You could do this to taste if you want, or you could actually measure it if you'd like to. A little bit of cocoa powder. If you know me, you know I just eyeball, but we can measure this out for you.
Well, it's because we're Italian. Hello.
I know.
Recipe? What recipe?
A little bit of balsamic vinegar. It actually calls for quite a bit. Usually I do about 1/3 of a cup or so, but again, it just depends. Like I said earlier, depends. For us, the elevation is kind of a little wonky up here, so you have to add a little bit of more of some things.
Oh, it smells really good.
I know, but as you can see, the color changes obviously from the balsamic vinegar
And the cocoa.
and the cocoa and the cinnamon and the tomato paste. But right now, where we use tomato paste as opposed to sauce, you really want to work that in and let that all meld nicely. Smells really good. But from smelling it, I want to add a little bit more cinnamon. Just a little. Okay. And I think we want a little olive oil, and then we'll be good to let this finish simmering.
Look at that olive oil.
I know, this is beautiful. Nice fresh oil.
When you start with good ingredients, you can't help but have recipe. No, not recipe, but
Good outcome.
Good outcome, yeah, right.
Can you see how beautiful that is?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
You can really smell the cinnamon.
Good. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? All right, so now I'm going to reduce the heat to low or to a simmer if you have that ability in the States. Here, low and simmer, kind of don't work. So we're going to reduce that to a simmer and let that finish cooking for just a few more minutes. So now you can see how it's reducing down beautifully. Look at that. Oh, the color, and I really wish we had smell-o-vision because it just smells so good. So it's doing really well on a low simmer in the back, so we'll let that continue to meld. Okay, so now that the caponata is simmering in the back burner, we're going to start working on the mushrooms, or the stuffed mushrooms here. So we have them all cleaned and prepped, and now I'm going to start working on the filling. We're going to start working on the stuffing for the mushrooms. We're going to use some sausage.
How are we supposed to stuff the mushrooms with that sausage?
Well, obviously it won't work like this, Dad. You have to take it out of the casing. Usually we can get it out of the casing, loose sausage, but this time we weren't able to. So we'll actually take it out of the casing and we'll saute it.
Okay. So Victoria, what are you doing now?
Well, now I'm cutting up the stems for the stuffing inside of the mushrooms. So you want this really fine.
Okay.
So once I get it sliced, we'll dice it really fine. I just like to get these pieces off first.
So now Victoria is strangling this sausage meat out.
Never a dull moment in Sicily, that's for certain.
Mm-mm. So once you squeeze that out, what needs to be done? What do you have to check?
Well, we're going to see how the consistency of the sausage meat, because sometimes here it's rather chunky, nice big pieces of pork, and sometimes it's finely ground. Just depends on which butcher you go to. So we're going to check and see how the pieces are, and we might just lightly run our cleaver through it just to make sure it's a nice fine ground, just because the mushrooms are on the smaller side. We don't want big pieces.
And this is a seasoned sausage, correct?
Yes.
Oh, very good.
It smells really good. Surprisingly, there's nice fresh herbs in here, some fennel. It smells really good.
Yum.
So as you can see now, the sausage has started to caramelize and is looking good. So now I'm gonna add the shallots and then we'll let that cook for a few seconds. All right, so now we're gonna add the shallots in.
And how many shallots are there, Victoria?
We did 2 small shallots. So we'll let that saute in here.
And just for Curiosity, why are we using shallots?
It's a sweet flavor. I like using shallots.
You can smell the cheese in the sausage too.
Yes, this particular sausage that we got had some cheese in it. It was really good. When it was loose, it looked like they were fat chunks, but it was not fat, it was just cheese. All right, so we'll let that just saute. And I'm gonna add in the chopped up stems.
Fungi. It almost looks like breadcrumbs, but it's chopped up.
Yes,
stems.
so that'll be in a second. So we have the bread, I was just about to say breadcrumbs. We have the mushrooms and the shallots in there. We'll let that saute. Believe it or not, we haven't added anything. That was just the liquid from the sausage and cheese. So we'll add a little bit of olive oil in a minute. But for now, we're just gonna let this saute. The onions will start to get translucent and the mushroom stems will start cooking.
And once again, it smells awesome.
It does. All right, we'll let that melt and then we'll add a little bit of marsala wine and some cheese.
Awesome. What does it look like?
Well, we're pouring marsala wine over these just to let them marinate a little. So I feel like they should look like little marsala shots instead of tequila shots. So you just put a little bit of the marsala wine in there and let them start marinating, and they soak up a little bit of that marsala wine as we finish cooking the sausage. So just get those all nicely coated with marsala wine. So you don't want, as you can see, you don't want a lot in the pan itself because you don't want them to be soupy.
No, because the mushrooms themselves will get, you know, a lot of, they hold a lot of water.
Yeah, so
naturally,
all that's in here right now is the little bit of marsala wine that's in the mushrooms themselves.
Yeah,
All right.
looks good.
All right, so now that this is nice and mixed, it's melded, it looks really good. Again, I wish we had smell-o-vision. So now that this is cooked down a little bit, we're gonna add a little bit of the marsala wine to this.
Just a little?
Just a little. We had put some already in the mushrooms and now we're gonna add it to this. It'll deglaze it a little. I have my thumb over here so it's not just spewing like crazy.
True.
So.
And our
Yes,
little
for
mushroom
sure.
shots are
Yeah,
marinating.
the burner is out.
I really wanted you guys to know what it's like living here in Sicily.
Uh-huh.
There's goods and there's some things like, are you serious? So in the middle of cooking, our little cooking class that we're doing right now, we run out of gas.
Yes.
So,
Now this looks like it's for the barbecue, but this is actually what we have attached to our, what, Dad? Our stove.
our stove, our oven, this
Yeah.
is what we have. So I have to change the propane tank so we can finish cooking.
Yes, because I need to finish the mushrooms. All right, let's go get some propane.
All right.
Yeah, I would say this is definitely something that's unique to Sicily. Because usually in the States, at least, we have the propane that goes directly into the house. That's, you know, you don't have to worry about a tank, or they have a larger tank, I should say. But here we have the little bumbly, or what looks like just a small propane tank, and that's what we do for the kitchen. Makes it really challenging, and they really don't give you any warning when they go out. So like right now, it just goes out in the middle of cooking and you have to go outside and get a new one. Fortunately, we have spares. Otherwise, we'd have to go to the store to get another propane tank. But in the city where I live, I just call a little guy and he comes and delivers it right to me. So now let's go install the propane. Yeah, so this is underneath our kitchen sink. And what Dad was just realizing is everything's backwards here and you don't go righty-tighty.
What do you mean? I just realized.
Yeah, we realized it a long time ago that even with the hand mixers, it mixes the other direction. All right, so let's try this again. As you just saw, we had a little issue with propane. So now that's fixed, hopefully. That was a full tank. So we have this sauteing again.
Look, we have fire.
We have fire, woohoo! And we didn't even need a flamethrower this time. It lit right on its own.
I know.
All right, so now that that's sauteing beautifully again, or finely, I'm just gonna add a little bit more, just a speck more marsala, because now it actually sizzles when I put it in. That's how we realized we're out of propane the last time. Okay.
Who says we're not smart?
I know. We're geniuses. Okay, because it should deglaze the pan when you add in the marsala, but instead it did nothing last time. Okay, so now that that's going, the mascarpone cheese.
And just so everyone knows, it's about, well, it is 250 grams.
Which is 8.8 ounces.
Correct.
Of cheese. Okay.
I love mascarpone cheese.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I like about it? I'm like, here we're using it to stuff mushrooms with, and it's the same ingredient that you can use to stuff a cannoli. It's so diverse here.
Oh, you know what I think we should do soon?
What?
Make your cannoli pistachio cookies. Those would be good.
If we have to.
I know. All right, so see how this is starting to loosen up a little bit after we added the cheese in there? Once this gets all melded, we will start adding some of the Romano cheese or the pecorino cheese, and then we will add some breadcrumbs to it. And you'll notice the difference between the breadcrumbs here and in the States. Here, the breadcrumbs are really, really fine. It almost looks like sand. All right, so
that is true, isn't it? Just so you know, I'm perfectly happy just eating this filling.
I know, we don't even need to stuff the mushrooms. Okay, so see how that's really liquefied? So now we're gonna add, we have this all grated. Some of it's gonna be for the top of the mushrooms, but Mom was so nice and grated this for us. So we're gonna add some of the cheese in here. And at the same time, we're gonna add, look at how fine this is. I don't know if you can see it. Let me put some in my hand. It's like powder. I don't know if you can see that.
Let's just put it this way.
It looks
the
like
ash
sand.
from Mount Etna is a heavier grit.
Yeah, it's seriously, it's just like powder. Okay, so we're gonna add just a little bit to start because we can always add more. And this is, I'm gonna turn this down to low.
I thought you could say that here.
I know. The reason that's a joke is everything takes so long. Okay, so you can see how it's instantly thickening up. Beautiful. So I'm gonna shut off the heat completely. And now the breadcrumbs are gonna start melding this all together. And this is why I add a little bit at a time, because it just depends on how it goes. And I don't think we're really gonna need much more breadcrumb than that.
No, it looks good.
Because I don't like it too bready, if you would. Because once it cooks in the oven, inside the mushroom will be perfect. So see how that just instantly thickened?
Because really what we want the breadcrumbs for is just to hold it together a little bit.
Yes.
We don't want it to be bready.
No, just to meld it and hold it firm. Okay, so now that this is done, we're gonna start stuffing mushrooms.
All right.
Okay, so now we're gonna add a little bit of parsley to it right before we stuff the mushrooms. And here, it's so fresh, we just keep it right in the water there, and we already washed it, so we're good to go.
What I like about keeping the parsley in the water in the glass like that over there is that it lasts for a really long time. It's a neat little trick, and it doesn't get wilted at all.
Well, it doesn't need to last too long here because we use it so quickly.
Well, that's true.
But this just adds a nice fresh element to the mushrooms.
Parsley goes with everything.
It does. So you can add as much or as little as you would like. And the same with the chop. I like a finer chop just because it's going into smaller mushrooms, but if you have larger mushrooms and you want a larger chop, you can. Okay.
I'm gonna stir that in.
Yeah, we'll stir that in, mix that all, and then we'll start stuffing those guys. Now we have that all melded with the parsley in there, so now we're gonna start stuffing these mushrooms. So we just push it in there, and then we like a little excess outside.
Yeah, don't be stingy.
But you wanna make sure it fills the cavity first. And then make a nice mound exterior. So I just do a little at first, and then we can add more on later. I want to make sure we have enough stuffing for all of them, which I think we'll have extra, which I think was your whole point, wasn't it? You wanted to eat some on its own.
Of course.
Now, most people would probably let this cool before they start stuffing the mushrooms, but I don't think I have any feeling in my fingers. But for most of you, you probably want to let the stuffing cool a little bit before you start stuffing the mushrooms. So this is why you can see you really want everything chopped very finely, so you get a little bit in each mushroom. especially for those little guys. And don't worry if you get a little bit of the stuffing on the tray, it's okay, because then it just gets crispified in the oven.
Which is delicious.
Mm-hmm.
One thing too is we try to get a package of mushrooms, so you have a variety of sizes, which is typical. Here you can get them, they're all the same size in a nice crate, and they're all the larger size or whatever. But this way it's more realistic, and you can see that whether you have small mushrooms or larger ones, you can stuff them and they come out delicious.
Yeah, because in the States, when you get a package of mushrooms at the store, they would be more like this, like you were just saying. But here, we, like you said, which I think I'll show you a picture of, I think I have one, we'll show you how they usually come in a tray, and they're all a uniform large size. And I think that's because all the locals here stuff mushrooms, and they like them uniform. But this way, you guys can see how you can do it at home more realistically. Okay, so these just came out of the oven. We cooked them at 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on your oven. With ours, it's a little bit slower here, also because of the elevation. But as you can see, there's a little bit of moisture, but that's to be expected. So what you really want is them to just get nice and crispy on top. Some might want it a little crispier, as Dad does, but I don't like it when the mushrooms get too soft. So I stopped him here, and I'll keep cooking his so they're a little bit crispier on top. Right,
yeah,
Dad?
I had a compromise. But they look good and they smell delicious.
Yeah, I didn't want soggy mushrooms.
No.
So what I'll do is I'll take mine out and we'll crisp his up a little bit.
It's fine, it's fine. It's good. All right, here we go. All right, so we finally finished cooking our aperitivos and our lunch, and we're going to have it today with our Gambino Spumante. So it's a little bit of a treat.
It's a little bit of a treat and a little bit of a workout. Woo!
All right, so we finally finished cooking our aperitivo and our lunch, as you can see by the beautiful spread. And today we're going to share it with our Gambino Spumante.
Yum.
So it's delicious, and and you can see how beautiful it is as we pour it out. And I have to tell you, it tastes even better than it looks.
Nice citrus. It's just really refreshing, especially in this heat.
Exactly.
Because today, yes, we can all have some. Because today it's 100+ degrees, so it's nice to have something a little refreshing. Well, thanks for joining us today while we prepared these delicious aperitivos. Now we're going to sit down and enjoy them with this delicious spumante.
And please feel free to try these recipes at home and give us some feedback on what you liked and what you didn't like about these recipes. And we're going to make other different types of aperitivos and meals to share with you as well here from Sicily.
Yes, exactly. And if you have any questions or comments about the recipes, if you need more info to make them successfully in the States, please let us know as well. But for now, ciao for now, and we'll see you soon.
All right, ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
It's a little bit of a treat and a little bit of a workout. Woo!